Good evening, everyone. This is Rose Emmett, the Business Manager and Board Secretary for Western Wayne School District. And at 6 p.m., we will start our work session for May of 2020. Dr. Barrett?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm going to start with going over the board agenda. I have a couple talking points after that, and then we'll get into the voting meeting thereafter. And then Ms. Emmett will go through the housekeeping items about explaining the process for that meeting at that time as well. So looking at the agenda, if everybody does not have a copy, Mr. Seaman, do you have that to scroll as we move forward here?
Yes, we will get that right up.
Okay, while that is being brought up, I will review just there we go. All right, we have our approval of minutes starting at number 5. We have our treasurer's reports. Number 7 is our approval of bills. We have recognition of public. We have next our student enrollment as of March 13th, which was up to 1889 from 1878 the prior month. Number 10, we have the approval of the graduation list. Just to give you a sense of where we're at with the graduation process, we have reached out to several companies to discuss different methods of doing the ceremony, either via television network, radio, broadcast. We're looking at having a ceremony here. We're still weighing those options. We are surveying the senior students to get their input and to see what they would like to see done. And then we're going to make, the decision based upon the obviously the CDC recommendations, and then what we are able to do from a district standpoint in order to properly send those kids off as best we can. So moving forward, number 11, we have our legislative representative. We're looking at Ms. Fiorella as our PSBA representative for next school year. And then in number 12, we have our voting delegates for PSBA Delegate Assembly for 2021 school year as well. And that's Bernice and Rick Hoke. Number 13, we have the election of the board treasurer. And then we will have the election of the board treasurer. Number 14 is the salary approval for the board treasurer. Number 15 is the bonding of the board treasurer at the estimated cost of $250 for $25,000 worth of bonding. Number 16, in the past, it's been very generous practice of the board treasurer to donate to various organizations, and those are should the board treasurer be appointed, those were the wishes of the board treasurer to distribute those funds to those organizations, as you see there, the Track Foundation, the co-curricular, as well as the Wayne County Community Foundation. Number 17, we have the designation of depositories. So these are the banks that we would work with to deposit our funds. You have Honesdale, Wayne Bank, and MBT, which is the same as last several years. Number 18, we have 18 and 19. We do have 2 real estate tax rebates. Number 18 is a personal property. Number 19 is for a church that in Waymart there. that they received a religious exemption for a portion of their property there. So that's why you see the larger sum in number 19. That was formerly a commercial property, I believe.
Matt, can I weigh in on that and ask some questions?
Sure, Gary, go ahead.
On number 18 for the 706, I checked that out, went to the county website and see what that lot was. That's just a lot. Just because the guy doesn't have a well and a septic shouldn't qualify him for a tax rebate. And in number 19, I'd say no on that one also.
Matt Meir, are you in? Can you speak to that, please, and the process and how that works?
Yeah, I'm here. I'd have to take a look at that property. I didn't look at the first one that Gary's speaking of. I'll take a look at it, whether or not it was assessed prior with some structure on it, Gary, and it was just a mistake they made, and that's why they went back through tax services.
This is Rose, just to update that these items for rebate did come into us from the county. I think they had gone through an appeal process with the county, and these were the results of an appeal on both of the properties. So I do have the paperwork from the county that I could share with Matt Meir if he needs it.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful to see that, because rebates just don't come upon request. So, and I'm assuming that I suspect that the larger one in paragraph 19 may have to do with that Waymart Church. Is that correct, Rose?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. So if they would have appealed the assessment and then they got a religious exemption, you can't argue against that, Gary, if they have the religious nonprofit exemption.
Do they have it?
Well, that's why I think if Rose got paperwork from it, I'll look at it. And
Right.
the Waymart Community Church, yeah, they have it. They don't have to do anything just to get it. You just become a church.
Shall we table these for tonight's meeting?
I think you should table them. And if Rose, you can just get me those two. Then I can just review them to make sure everything's in order, because I don't believe I saw that come from the county.
Okay.
I can just speak this a little bit on number 19. I know that church is the old Sponia Manor. I know that they have been down to the courthouse. I know they've met with the commissioners. I know that part. Now, do they have all the correct paperwork? I can't say that. I've never seen that, but just so you know, that's where that, let's just say that's where it ends at. That's all I can say. I know that what we're all talking about, what you guys all said is right. Probably a good idea, Matt, if you want to take a look at it. That's my, that'd be my opinion. But
Yeah, and I think Rose is probably correct that they appealed it, which everybody has the right to do. They can appeal their tax assessment with a letter, and then they appear in front of the commissioners and the assessor to make their case.
don't hold me to that, but I think you're 100% right. I'm pretty sure that happened. I can't speak to that exactly, but what you just said, I'm pretty much sure it happened. So
I mean, Dr. Barrett, it's up to you guys if you want to table it, or if the other members are inclined to move forward to approve it, it can just be approved conditioned upon review by solicitor.
Gary, would you feel comfortable with that approach?
As of tonight, I'm gonna vote no. So I mean, you guys do how you want to do it.
I think we can move forward since it is through the county and the paperwork is all in. I'm for moving forward and then go ahead and review it after, if that works for everybody.
Does anybody have any other concerns if we take that approach?
well, I think it's right. Matt should probably take a look at it, just make sure everything's right.
Yeah, so I think that you just add on to that motion on 18 and 19 upon review by the solicitor.
Very good.
That's fine. And then I will follow up with Matt Meir. I will send him the paperwork that I received from the county. And then I will not make the payments if it does go through with upon review of solicitor. I will not make the payments until I do have the approvals through Matt Meir for making them.
Yeah, I think that's great, Rose. This is Matt Meir, and I think it's prudent. We may as well send it to all the board members as well.
Yes, I will do that.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. Moving forward, number 20 is the exoneration of tax collectors for the 2019 duplicates. Number 21, we have the appointment of the tax collectors for 2020. You see them as listed. Number 22 is the extracurricular contract for the 2021 school year with a backup as needed, and then the rates per mile and the minimum mileage, waiting time, et cetera, for the 2021 school year. 23 is the.
And I have a quick question on that one especially. So, I know some of the rates. I guess the thing to say here is that nobody knows what's going to happen next year. But if we approve that and there's payment out like there is now, with no school, would we continue at that? I mean, is that, you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm just a little, leery as to how that goes. Say school doesn't happen in September. Maybe I shouldn't even say that, but is that going to be, are we held to that then if we approve it?
That would be dictated by the state, Joe.
Okay.
I mean, they would make that recommendation or mandate, for that matter, as they did this year. They required us to pay the
Yeah.
contractors, et
Right.
cetera. So that would have to go through them.
All right.
We just want to make sure that we have it ready to go for this, assuming that we're
Okay.
starting.
I understand. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions on that? Okay. We have our 23, our special counsel, that's King Spry, and their hourly rate, which is the same as the previous school year. Number 24 is our district solicitor and Mr. Meir's rate, which again is the same as the prior school year. Number 25, this is the appointment of the assistant to the superintendent as the ADA and Title IX coordinator. 26 is the appointment of the assistant to the superintendent as the affirmative action compliance officer. And then 27 is appointing Dr. LaRosa to the right to know officer position. So those illustrious titles she is now bearing, for better or for worse. But number 28 is an annual update to the IDEA-B, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Act, and just making sure that our policies and procedures are in compliance. Number 30 is our Blackboard Connect contract for next school year. This contract, that's the system that we use to distribute all of our phone messages, our email and text messages when you get your board notices or snow delays, and my constant voicemails over the past several weeks. That's what we utilize to distribute that information. 31 is an agreement with the Scranton School District just for the remainder of this year on an as-needed basis. This is for, as well as, any extended school year program we may need to incorporate. That is for a special needs program. 32 is an agreement with Way Memorial so that we could have the IEPs reviewed in order to determine if the students are eligible for medical access. And then the rate there of $15, I believe, is also the same as last year. 33, we have 3 settlements agreements that we have discussed previously. So those have settled at the rates that we discussed as well. So it's just finalizing those and getting signatures back to everybody. Number 34 is a job description for the Early Intervention Service Coordinator. As a result of a retirement and replacing the position, we're also updating the job description that goes along with that position, just so that, well, basically it hasn't been updated in at least 20 years. So it's about time, and some of the criteria for the position have changed since then. So we want to make sure that we're appropriately appointing the duties for that person. Number 35 is the social studies curriculum textbook approval, and those items listed there per grade level or school. Okay, next page, we have.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I missed the, I was in between vehicle and computer here. I missed the 33D, the 2 appointments. Did you pick people for those 2?
I apologize, Rick, can you repeat that, please?
I'm sorry, I was transferring from vehicle to into the house here. I missed number 33D, I think it is, the appointments. I missed both of them. Did you mention them?
No, we did not get to them yet. You mean the personnel, the teaching positions?
Yes, yep, that's okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be there in a moment.
Okay.
So we're on 36A right now. So we're looking at our 2 retirements for this current school year. So we have an art position as well as the early intervention position we just discussed. Letter B is the letter of assurances that we distribute every year to our 10-month employees, basically stating that they will be employed for next school year. Letter C is the hourly per diem rates for the 2021 school year for those positions listed: substitutes, teacher aides, secretaries, homework help, security, etc. Okay, letter D, we do have 2 appointments. One is as a result of a resignation. This is for an elementary music position, and this individual has been in that position in the past 2 years. So we did some interviews, and she turned out to be the elected candidate. 22 is a long-term substitute as a result of a sabbatical, and this is again long-term for a secondary English position at step 1. This individual has been working with us in the role of a substitute throughout the course of at least this past school year, and has done a nice job. So this is for that position. Rick, any other questions related to those?
Nope, I'm good. I was looking at the other agenda and it was out of order. I'm okay.
Okay, sorry about that. Letter E, we do have an appointment for girls head coach soccer for next school year. Mr. Black did several interviews for that position and very confident in the capabilities and the experience of this individual. He speaks very highly of. So that's the recommendation for that position. And then letter F is the appointment of our SAP team members for next school year, and the contracted rate for those individuals as listed. And then we have our informational items, and Um, That's it for the agenda. Does anybody have any other questions regarding any of the line items that we just discussed? Okay, I do have a few things I'd like to discuss before we get to the voting
Hey,
session.
Matt, I just
Yeah.
said, I did have one question. I had myself on mute, didn't realize it. The Tyler Jakes,
Yes.
I just, or is he, does anybody know? I don't know is it the guy, is he from around here? Is he from where, where, has he coached before? Do you know that, or can Bob tell us?
Yeah, he's former collegiate athlete, college player. He's been coaching various clubs and organizations. He coached summer camps at Keystone College,
Okay.
as well as the junior high team
Okay.
last year.
Yeah, I didn't know. I wasn't familiar with the name, so, okay.
So I believe Mr. Black said he did play at Misericordia.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fair enough. I just didn't recognize the name, sorry.
Dr.
No
Barry,
problem.
you need Mr. Black to speak. Brian can allow that to happen. Do you need Mr. Black?
No, it's okay, Rose. That's all right. I just wasn't familiar with him. That's all. That's
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to know we could do
Yep,
that.
Sure. Appreciate it.
Okay, so as you see on the important date, the recommendation for the last student day is June 12th. Going back to March 25th, when we started our continuity of education plan, and moving to the date of June 12th, that would give us 179 school days, so just shy of the 1 day of the 180 requirement, which has been waived by the state for this school year. So that is not mandated as a result of the epidemic. So we feel that's a pretty good concession there, getting 179 days and ending on that Friday for the students. And again, as I mentioned earlier, working on the graduation procedures, as well as a few other things such as senior night and how that's going to look. We have some moving up days from 5th grade to 6th grade, as well as 8th grade to 9th grade. So we have some irons in the fire on that front. But speaking of our continuity of education plan, we have revised that and updated to make sure that we're incorporating new planned instruction for our students. We did modify that from the previous version and then submitted that to the state. And that is on our website, along with frequently asked questions, informational item document as well. Again, I can't express to everybody how grateful I am to see how well our community has come together, our teachers, our staff, our custodians, our administrators. The administrators have been working tirelessly day in and day out on a day-to-day basis, because the information we get changes on a day-to-day basis. So we're making adjustments. We're trying to stay ahead of the game, keep our heads above water, and making sure we're getting our kids the best education we possibly can, considering the circumstances. So I just want to give them the recognition. Our teachers have been doing a phenomenal job getting acclimated to the new Google Classroom format. I know it's been difficult on families, speaking from a personal level, working with my kids at home and balancing that between my schedule, my wife's schedule, and it's a challenge, but everybody's been really, really great. And I mean, I can't say enough about it. So if you haven't already, please take a look at that. Also, from an administrative standpoint, we've begun to discuss staffing and what that's going to look like for next school year. Do we need to adjust positions based upon student numbers and student needs, et cetera? So we'll be discussing those plans as we move forward in the next month or so. And other than that, the final piece is looking to schedule or reschedule the budget meeting, the preliminary budget meeting, so that Rose can do her presentation and then voting on the preliminary budget as well. So and I'm putting it out there for discussion. You know, Rose and I, being that we don't have all the information from the state or federal government at this point, and we're not sure what's going to come through in the next couple of weeks. We could either do a meeting next Wednesday and then give it some time and then do the voting meeting thereafter, or we could wait to May 20th. We could do them both on the same night. I know Rose did distribute the packet of information to the board. I don't know if you had a chance to review, but she'll be sending out a revised version as well. So Rose, do you want to give any commentary on that?
Yes, just a reminder, I'm open to doing the 2 separate meetings. If we do a budget narrative on the 13th and then a voting meeting on the 20th of May to adopt the tentative budget. I have made some updates to the spreadsheets that I sent out last week, and I'll be sending updated spreadsheets out for your review, of course, in draft form in the next couple of days. But I'm open to doing the 2 meetings and, keeping it. We have to still stay on our timeline. There's been no changes with the state as far as our timelines for budget. So we're still obligated to pass a tentative budget by the end of May, and then also pass a final budget by the end of June. So we'll do the best we can with the information that we have from the state and the federal government at the time we make our decisions on the tentative budget, and then again at the finalized budget. Any thoughts on whether or not you want to do that over the 2 different nights, 2 different weeks, or if you want to combine it into the night of the 20th, do the presentation, and then go into the actual meeting? I'm open to either way.
Do you think you'll hear anything, Rose, between now and the 20th, from the state as far as anything for that matter goes?
I'm not 100% sure. I know that from what I sent out to you last week, I have gotten some items confirmed. The homestead farmstead money has been confirmed with the state, so I have those numbers updated. We did get some updated spreadsheets on basic ed funding and special ed funding. They came in today, but they are not finalized. The legislation has not passed them yet, but they are updated based on information that the state received. So the things are being updated. They're just not finalized at this point. And there's no way to know whether they will be finalized by the 20th. But I don't think we could wait much longer than that date just to be able to get everything in and have our 30-day window between tentative and final in June.
It's Bernice. I just wanted to say whatever you guys are good with, I'm okay with. If you feel that 1 day is enough, then I'm fine with that, but it's totally up to you and if you need more time. So what do you guys think?
I'd rather have 2 days.
Okay, Gary, that's good. Anybody else?
Yeah, I pretty much, I agree with that too, just because of the fact, that's why I was asking. A lot could change, but if we do the 13th and then the 20th, we're all talking about it, and I think it's important. So yeah, 2 days.
I agree, 2 days.
2 days for Mike.
Okay, what about Mr. Gershi?
I will go either way.
I knew it. Yeah, so we're good
How
with
did
the
you
2
know
days
it?
then. What's that, Bill?
How did you know it, Bernice?
Well, I was waiting to hear what you had to say. I was dying, Bill.
She can see you, Bill.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So since Bill wants 1 day, we'll do 2.
Bernice.
I'm switching from my phone to my screen. I just want to check if my audio is working.
Yep, we can hear you, Rick.
All right, thank you.
All right, so we'll go ahead. It sounds like the majority do want to do the 2 nights. So we'll do a narrative budget on May 13th, and then we'll do a tentative general meeting on May 20th for approval of a tentative budget. Those meetings will be advertised. We'll conduct them the way that we are conducting our current meeting through Zoom, and we'll have it open to the public for those meetings too. Everyone will be able to attend who wants to. Just a reminder for this work session, and I apologize for not saying this at the beginning. If anyone from the public who is watching or listening wants to ask a question or make a comment about any of our agenda items, they can be sent to email address of publiccomment@westernwayne.org. That is up on the screen right now. I am monitoring that for anything coming in right now. And we'll have another opportunity during the formal meeting where we will pause and go through any comments or questions that have come in on public comment for the public meeting too, when we get to that part of the agenda.
Thank you, Rose. I guess one more thing before we get into the voting session. Do we want to stick with a 6 o'clock timeframe for the budget meetings, or does another time work better for everybody's schedule? I'm not sure. I know everybody's kind of out of whack in terms of what their schedule's like, but if one time would work, if morning would work better than the evening, then we can make that work as well. But just let me know which works best for all.
This is Dana. I definitely can't do mornings. I'm still working.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in my normal day is 7:30 to 6, so I can do the 6 if that works. A little later is always easier, but I'll make it work, whatever is best for everyone.
Okay. Well, I think we'll keep it in the evening, and then we'll have the notice sent out as soon as possible. Very good. Okay, moving along to the voting session of
Hang on 1 second.
Oh, okay.
I got something. Where are we going to be at with tabling the addition for this year for field house?
Oh, Gary, yes, thank you. I apologize. I did have that on my list. For the board as a whole, I know the Buildings and Grounds Committee was discussing the progress of the current track and field renovation, the lighting, et cetera. And I know there was some concern about moving forward at this point with the second phase of the project, which is the field house addition. So putting it out to the entire board, the concern is to hold off until we get a better sense of where we are financially. And now the only part of that we have to be cautious of is that if we do move forward without the field house expansion at this point, we do have to utilize those funds within the time frame that was provided, or else we lose out on the capability to spend those funds and still have the cost associated with them. So I know Rose did look into an extension for that time frame given the circumstances. And Rose, I believe it was as long as we meet the 85% mark in terms of the funds that we utilized so far, there's a good chance that we would be able to extend that time frame, correct?
Yes, Matt, there's no extension that had to be approved or asked for. I just verified with our financial consultant, Audrey Bear, that one that we borrowed the funds, who helped us with the borrowing, the bonds. We did need to spend the 85% within the first, first 3 years. And the remaining, we still need to use on capital projects, capital items, but we do have a little bit of time left. We probably have another 1.5 to 2 years to decide how we would spend that additional money. Everything we've committed for the athletic complex at this time amounts to above the 85%, so we're okay. We estimate at the end of this project, we'll have about $300,000 left, and it can eventually be used towards field house renovations, or if there's another capital project that comes up in the meantime, or over the next year to 2 years, we can use those funds for those capital projects, as long as we keep it at a capital expense. Everything we've done under our current borrowing and our current resolutions covers us to spend it that way.
Rose, this is Jeff here. And Gary, just to address that again, the remaining 300, I think right now, based on if everyone has looked at Rose's tentative budget and sees where the current projected fund balance or deficit's going to be for this upcoming year, I mean, I feel it's wise we hold off on pursuing the field house renovations at this point. And especially based on the current climate that we're in as well. So that $300,000 can be spent. If it doesn't go towards the field house, we might have some other pressing capital projects that need, or that would be covered under that. Rose, right? If I'm, when we spoke, you said that it could be allocated to quite a few other things if
Right.
we had a more pressing need.
If an emergency came up and we had something that was unexpected, we could, as long as it was a capital expense, we can use it. Or we also have a list from when TM3 was here of, you know, future capital needs for the district. So there's a list
Right.
of things that we can review and see if there's any of those that want to be done when it comes time to spending the money.
This is Ethan Wood. I agree with Jeff. I think it would be prudent to hold off on doing the field house right now.
Yeah, I think this is Bernice. Also, I agree. I think that's a wise decision at this time, since we are really in uncertain times.
This is Dana. I agree as well. I don't think we should be entering into anything else that we don't know of at this point.
So do we need to add this to our agenda tonight so we can vote on it?
I don't think we need to. You have not, as a board, you have not voted on moving forward with any of the field house renovations. They've just been in discussion. So I don't think there's any formal action that needs to be taken at this time. Unless Matt feels differently.
Rose, Matt Barrett does not. No, I don't.
I'm not in that mirror.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm sorry. Matt Muir does not either.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think this is Matt Muir. I think you're okay based on what I've just heard here.
Thank you. I do have a public question that came in. Are you okay with me reading it?
Shall we wait to the comment section when we get to the next portion of the meeting?
Sure, we can do it then.
Okay, before we do get into that, does anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns at this point?
I just had a few positive things. You want me to wait for the next meeting, which is fine, or I could either do them now or later, whatever's a bit easier.
Always like to hear some positive stuff. So why don't you fire away, Joe?
All right. So just a few things that I ran into. The students this week have been picking up things at school, you know, their lockers, clean out their lockers. And I've had actually a couple people call me and tell me how nice it was that the teachers, how they were to the kids when they went, you know, to the cars, you know, just to see the kids. I think it means more to these kids than everybody knows. Maybe the teachers know, or maybe some people know, but it really meant it was a big deal. I know today, I think it was 3rd grade at Wilson School, and whoever was there, I didn't get that, but I know for a fact that it meant a lot to at least 2 different people and their kids. So it's a big deal when these cars are pulling in with the kids and they're trying to get their stuff out of their lockers. that to me, it's a big deal. I'm sure it's to everybody, but that whoever's coming out to the cars, and I don't think I need to even say this because it happened today, make sure they have a smile on their face, man. Make sure they're, saying hello and making a big deal, because it meant a big deal to some kids today, just so you guys know that. That's one thing. There was another thing that happened that I thought was pretty neat that I thought everybody should know about. This, I don't know this guy, but he was on TV, Ed Belavitz. He does some signs and stuff. So we ordered some for Nick. He's a senior this year, my son. And we called to pay, and he said, "Oh, well, you don't have to pay." I'm like, "Well, that's great. How'd that happen?" And he said that somebody came in and paid for the signs. So there was a certain period. Some people probably paid and some people didn't. But there was a certain period that somebody came in out of the blue, paid for all the signs. And I know the 3 that we got for free. He didn't want to say who it was. The person who paid didn't want to be recognized. But if that person is out there and hears this, thank you. I think that was a pretty cool thing that happened lately. That was one thing. The other thing was our IT department. We have an IT department at work where I work, and I know what it took them to get done what we had to get done to do our business, which has been running since day one, or March 13th, since I've been home working from home. But our IT department, Western Wayne's IT department, Brian and Don, you guys freaking did a great job. Of course, you're going to have some glitches and stuff, which everybody has, but I think they should all be recognized. I know, Matt, you mentioned before a few people and the administration and everything, but those guys on that department, that was pretty good stuff that, as far as I'm concerned, because I'm an IT geek. I know nothing about that kind of stuff, but for us to be able to do this, and a lot of stuff that's been happening, I think they get kudos, and that's it. That's what I got.
And Joe, I'd also like to add Matt Robinson to that list. He's the 3rd person in our tech
Okay.
department.
Yep.
And the
Okay.
3 of them, you're right, they've been doing
Thank
a
you.
phenomenal job.
Yep, thanks. I knew there was some. I'm sorry, I forgot, but thank you. That's good.
Absolutely. And, right from the start, those guys re-imaged about 400 laptops in
Yeah.
a 24-hour period. They're here till 2 a.m. the one night.
Right.
They came up with a system to scan the computers so that it goes into our database and automatically brings up the household information, so that we are able to print out acceptable use forms, and our administrators and those guys put together a document for families to how to access the information, et cetera. Tremendous. Thank you, Joe. Absolutely tremendous job on their behalf. And again, that extends to everybody that we've been working with on a day-to-day basis. But
Sure.
yeah, they really they made it happen and quickly. Great job, guys. Okay. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? All right. I guess at this point, we'll transition to the voting meeting. And Rose and Bernice, you want to take it from here?
Okay, give us 1 second to get organized and we'll get started.
Okay.
Okay, just want to welcome everyone to the board meeting for May 6, 2020. A reminder that this meeting is being recorded and it is streaming live on YouTube. Anyone with public comment for the agenda is asked to send an email to publiccomment@westernwayne.org. Please include your name with your email so that I can read that during the public comment section. I do have a couple questions that came in, and I will go through them when we get to that section. Once we get into the agenda, it will be up on the screen so that everyone can view it as we move along. I will turn it over. I have Bernice Fiorella. She is here at the district office for me. We are using the same computer, so you won't see her name pop up, but she is here, and I'm going to turn it over to her now to have the meeting called to order.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our May board meeting. If I could please call this meeting to order. It is now 6:45. If we could please stand for a prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, as we approach this month of May of continued uncertainty, I pray for our families and our community, and I especially pray for our seniors who are graduating this year. Be with them in the following months. Heavenly Father, we just thank you. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under
God,
God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
For all.
Ms. Emmett, could I please have a roll call?
Yes, and just a reminder, after roll call, when we get into the motions, if the board member speaking would state their name before they either make a motion or second that motion, just so that we have for the record who is speaking. All right, roll call. Mrs. Fiorella,
Here.
Mr. Hope,
Here.
Mr. Gagolski,
Here.
Mrs. DeCiato,
Here.
Mr. Enslin,
Here.
Mr. Gershi,
Here.
Mr. Gambita,
Here, sorry.
that's okay, Mr. Auckland,
Here.
Mr. Wood,
Here.
Attorney Meir,
Here.
Dr. Barrett,
Here.
Dr. La Rosa, I believe she is here.
She is, can she
She might not be able to.
unmute her?
I can see her on the attendance list.
Yes.
And Miss Emmett is here. And any other administrator has been invited to join, but if they are not in attendance, they have been excused from this meeting. Mrs. Fiorella, you have 9 board members present.
Thank you, Rose. We're just going to wait 1 minute for the agenda to pop up on the screen. And then we'll begin with motion number 5. So just give us 1 minute and then we'll be ready. Okay, could I please have a motion for number 5, the approval of minutes, please?
This is Bill Gershi. I move that we approve the minutes of the board work session and the regular board meeting, which were both held on April 1st, 2020.
This is Rick Hoke. I'd like to second that.
Okay, the motion was made by Mr. Gershi and then seconded by Mr. Hoke. Are there any questions or comments on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed, say no. And any abstaining? Okay, that motion does pass. Could I have a motion for number 6, please?
Jeff Gagolski moves to accept the treasurer's reports for the general, food service, and student activity accounts.
This is Ethan Wood, and I'll second.
Okay, the motion was made by Mr. Gagolski and then seconded by Mr. Wood. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed, say no. And any abstaining? Okay, that motion does pass. A motion for number 7, please.
Jeff Gagolski moves for the approval of bills from the general, food service, and construction accounts.
Ethan Wood, I'll second.
Okay, again, the motion was made by Mr. Gagolski and then seconded by Mr. Wood. Any questions or comments on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. And any abstaining? Okay, that motion does pass. We have some public recognition. I'll hand it over to Rose at this point.
We did receive a few questions and comments while we were conducting the work session, so I will start with this. The first one came in, considering the coronavirus-related unemployment increases and educational distance learning, does the district have plans to adjust spending for the 2021 school year?
Well,
This is Jeff Kogolski here. I'm going to say at this point, a budget has been preliminarily drafted. We are going to, as discussed in the work session, going to be reviewing it next week preliminarily. And I think that's a question and decisions that'll be made as we go through the budget process.
thank you, Jeff.
I just would like to say, this is Bernice Fiorella, that at this point in time, we are going to try to do as much as we can to make this budget to the best for this community in this time. And we're not going to take that lightly. So yes, we're really going to try to do the best we can to keep spending to an absolute minimum.
This is Gary Enslin. We already showed that we are going to try just by stopping the building of the addition to the field house.
Yes, thank you, Gary, for mentioning that. I appreciate that.
Okay, next item, Rose.
Okay, the next question is from the same individual. It says, how will the public see the budget presentation from Rose? Just so everyone knows, we will conduct the meeting the same way we are our public meetings. So next Wednesday, May 13th, we will provide the presentation on the screen as we are for the agenda item. We'll have the slides up as I go through the budget, and we'll have interaction with the board. It will be a public session, so everyone is welcome to view it through YouTube in a very similar fashion to how we are handling the public meetings and the work sessions. And the second part of that question was, what part of the capital projects on the list, what are some of the capital projects on the list you mentioned? I don't have that list in front of me right now. It was something that was created by CM3 several years ago, but I know it involved some of our heating, our boilers in our buildings, the rooftop units, the chillers, and I don't know if I'm saying the terminology correctly, but chillers and some other things, ventilation. Offhand, I don't know if anybody else wanted to jump in if they remember any of the other items, but it were things that were on some original lists from CM3 probably 2 years ago.
As well as the items that we're currently addressing with the replacement of the track and the stadium lighting and et cetera. So those items were on that list as well. And Rose, I think you pretty much summed it up pretty well. There are several other items, but we have been addressing those over the past several years, trying to make sure that we're providing a safe, sound environment for our faculty, students, and staff, and the general public.
Great, thanks, Matt.
Okay, at this time, I do not have any additional comments that have come in through the public comments at westernwayne.org email. Thank you for your comments and questions.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, we will move on to number 9 is the enrollment report. It is there. Could I please have a motion for number 10, please?
Could I make a suggestion?
Yes, Mr. Gershi. Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
Well, I'm with modifications.
Okay.
What we do in a situation like at the intermediate unit is you approve all of them that can be approved and withhold some that need action. For instance, number 13, the election of the treasurer requires a separate situation. And 16, when the treasurer indicates where he or she is going to donate the salary. And then we would mention the amendments to 18 and 19, which is upon review by the solicitor for those tax rebates. So we could do a consent block rather than going through all of these again, and just withhold numbers 13 and 16. And then after we vote on those, it would approve everything except 13 and 16. We go
Yeah.
back.
And Bill, forgive me on that. You're right on that. And that's how we did it the last meeting. So forgive me on that. If
No.
you want to go ahead and do that, and we'll leave 13, 14, and 16 to
Well,
the side.
Well, okay, it would sound like this. I
Well,
move,
go for it. Take it away.
okay. I move to approve, this is Bill Gershie, by the way. I move to approve a consent block motion, which would include items 10 through 36, but withholding numbers 13 and 16 and amending numbers 18 and 19 by adding upon review by the solicitor to both of those. That's the motion.
This is Ethan Wood. I'll second.
Okay. That motion was made by Mr. Gershie and then seconded by Mr. Wood. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. And any abstaining? Okay, hearing none, then we go ahead and pass those. If we could have then the motion for 13 and 16.
So you got to go to 13 first, right?
Right.
Well, I nominate Jeff Kogolski for board treasurer.
I'll second that nomination.
The motion was made by Mr. Gershie and then seconded by Mr. Hoke to nominate Jeff Gogolski for treasurer. Are there any questions or comments? Are there any other nominations?
Is Mr. Kogolski willing to do it?
I'm here. I'll accept.
He
Thank
has
you.
no choice.
That is a lifetime appointment, Jeff.
Till death do you part. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. And any abstaining? That motion does pass. And I would just like to say, Jeff, thank you so much. I can't imagine that position being held by anyone else but you. You do a phenomenal job. So truly, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
Could
And
we,
I also would like to thank Jeff. This is Rose. We work closely on all the bill listings every month and also on budget items as I'm prepping things. He's helping me. And I do appreciate all his support and his guidance with what we do here. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you, Rose, guys. Appreciate it.
a motion for 16 then? The donation of the treasurer's salary.
I move, this is Jeff Kogolski here. I move that the Board of Education approve the donation of the board treasurer's salary in the amount of $1,000 to the Western Wayne Track Foundation. I would like to see that funding the winter track program that we have. As everyone knows, we've had the public coming and pushing for more money towards that program. So I would really like to see that $1,000 move towards that. Secondly, $1,000 to Western Wayne co-curriculars, and then $1,000 to the Wayne County Community Foundation, and again, designated for that EFRP, which is the program that is feeding the community at the current time. Rose and I had a discussion where I would like that check to go out sooner than later. It cannot go out until the next calendar school year, which won't begin until July 1st. However, we can have that discussion. I would really like to see that check cut sooner than later to go to the foundation.
Thank you for that, Jeff. I will second that. So Bernice Fiorella seconding that motion.
He didn't
Again,
finish
thank
it,
you
did he?
so much, Jeff, for your kindness. So appreciated.
Did he?
Are there any questions or comments?
I was wondering whether he finished it. Did he mention the other, the three, or what?
That was the three, Bill.
Oh,
It
okay.
was
Okay.
the Western Wayne Track Foundation, the
Right.
Western Wayne co-curriculars,
And the
and then the
community.
community
Okay, I
foundation.
guess I missed that. Sorry. Okay,
Keep up,
Thank you.
Mr. Gershie.
thank you, thank
That-
you.
That part right there, Jeff, you should be commended for too. This is Joe Gambita.
Absolutely.
You know, the last 3 years, you pick and choose, and you're always picking and choosing the right things. And that part of what you're doing is a stand-up thing. You're a stand-up guy.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay. The motion was made by Mr. Golsky and then seconded by Mrs. Fiorella. Are there any questions or comments anymore? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. And any abstaining. That motion does pass. We will then go to the end of the agenda for some important dates. Under there, we have June 12th as our last day of school. Do we have any questions on correspondence? Any questions on the superintendent's report? On the assistant to the superintendent's report? The principal's report? Anything to report on the federal program? Is there any other business?
I'd just like to thank the administration for the great work they've been doing, to Matt and to Rose and to the assistant superintendent and the rest of the administrators, all the principals, and of course the teachers who I know have come in, cleaned their rooms, et cetera, and are working hard online to provide education for the students. So thank you so much for the smooth operation.
Bill, I would just like to add into that as well. Thank you for our teachers. This is Teacher Appreciation Week, and it's unfortunate they don't get the recognition that they do receive when all the kids are in school. So I just really want to thank them for all their efforts during this difficult times. On another note, I'd also like to thank the Wayne County Emergency Food Program. I'd like to thank all the people that volunteered. And for Matt, Dr. Barrett, for allowing us to use the school. It has been incredible to have it here. The maintenance has been amazing with their efforts to help, but they've really made it just so easy. So I'm grateful to everyone who helped donate and volunteer. I thank you. It's been a wonderful program. As of now, this Friday will be our last distribution. So if anyone is in need, please feel free to just look on the website or just come. Distribution starts at 11 and we end at 12:30. No one would be turned away. So thank you to everyone who has helped with those efforts. Any other information that anyone would like to share?
I'm going to also just echo the thanks to everyone, including I wanted to mention Mr. Seaman, Mr. Sutton, Mr. Robinson, Dr. Barrett, Dr. LaRosa, Ms. Watson, Ms. Emmett. You guys I know have been doing a lot of work behind the scenes trying to keep everything up and going for staff and students. Much appreciated. And also Mr. Gambita and Mr. Enslin have been keeping us all kind of updated on the stadium upgrades, the turf and track with some photos and some other, I know they've been keeping it close. I make sure the work is done properly. So thank you guys for doing that. Mr. Gagolski and Ms. Emmett, thank you. I know you're working hard on the budget presentation and trying to make sure that we get the best budget we can or the best bang for our buck. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Hoke. Anyone else have a comment they'd like to say?
Bernice, I would just like to add, well, echo the comments about it's just been a tremendous community effort on every level. It was just been really refreshing that despite the circumstances that we've been able to bond together as a community, as a school district, and really provide for those in need and just to reinforce that what we do here is really important. So just want to say that. And one last thing to add that I believe I forgot to mention during the work session portion, we did discuss the last student day as June 12th. However, with the teachers, the plan is in order to fulfill the contractual obligations of their amount of days, we're planning to use several days beyond that to June 23rd as professional development and in-service time that we could, review data, provide professional development for them, as well as prepare for next school year, depending on what the circumstances may be, and really shore some things up as a result of this current marking period and then what we're looking at moving forward. So that is our plan in place. If nobody has any other comments regarding that, I'll keep you posted as we move forward, though.
Thank you, Dr. Barrett. We do have a bunch of future meetings. I just would like to say May 13th will be the presentation of the narrative budget. We will have a time for that. We're aiming 6 o'clock, but if that changes, we will notify everyone. And then on May 20th would be the adoption of the tentative budget. June 3rd would be our next board committee meeting. Bill, this is growing on me, so we may do those the same day.
Okay.
Also, June 20th will be the final adoption of the general fund budget.
We have to read in the day, that's the 24th.
June 24th is that day. So that will be the final adoption of that budget. Also, we did have a meeting held on April 1st at 5 o'clock was the executive session for personnel and legal, and then 6 o'clock was the work session. 7 o'clock was the public board meeting. At this time, any further information that anyone would like to share? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion for adjournment, please?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Hoke. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good night.